You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 182.2. Michelle Garmon reacts to Indiana women's 71-61 win over number 8 Ohio State.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Michelle, IU is clearly an NCAA team, no doubt about it. But there's been some ups and downs this season, and man, tonight really made it look like it's coming together and going to be an exciting March for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, I really thought that the Hoosiers looked great last Saturday when they hosted Purdue in the barn burner. And I mean, they came out in the first half. They were just incredible, and they were good defensively that entire game. I know Terry Morin afterwards said she graded their defense for that entire Purdue game an A. She thought their offense in the second half was a C plus. But I'll get this: she did a lot more subbing in the second half than that she normally does against Purdue, and I think it's really hard sometimes to play as flawlessly as you did and be so dominant that to be able to sometimes maintain that focus and against a team like Purdue is this season, young and I love Katie Gerald's. I thought she was a great player at Purdue. I think she's a really good coach. I know she coached Macy Lively when at Marion, but her team is just there's not very much talent, Big Ten level
Right.
talent. I know they're
Not
young, but
yet.
not yet. And it shows up tonight or Thursday night when Ohio State came. I mean, you could just tell it in the pregame and the introductions, and the IU was locked in. And I mean, I will say this is the best press breaker job or best job Indiana's done under Coach Moore of breaking the press, and just they picked Ohio State apart early. Sydney Parrish layup after layup, or assist after assist, and
It's a great sign.
yeah, I mean, I think IU had 21 assists on 25 made field goals tonight. They out rebounded
Another
Ohio
great
State.
sign.
Yes, they out rebounded Ohio State by 9 or 11. Another great sign. Their turnovers were kind of high, especially at the end. Chloe Moore McNeil fouled out. Ohio State, it was so funny because you could tell they were trying to foul, but the refs didn't call it, so IU turned it over a little bit. But they had enough of a lead at that time that really the 10-point margin, it really wasn't. I mean, IU that was like a 14 to 17 point game the entire almost from the second quarter on. Sydney Parrish was great. Yardon Garzon was just tremendous. IU was I believe they shot 59 of 17 from 3-point range. They shot 54% from the field, held Ohio State down. And IU plays great defense under Terry Moore. I mean, I think Terry Moore is an outstanding coach, especially defensively. And her defense is so successful because she gets her players to talk. It's, so much fun sometimes it's fun when they're hitting shots, but it's so much fun sometimes just to go to watch them play defense and the way they talk to each other, the way they rotate and, pick up. It's just really good. And tonight they were fantastic against Ohio State. Ohio State, number
From the
8 in the
start.
really from the start. Yeah, you just Kimmy, you could just tell they have focused. And I told my sister, I said, you can really tell here that Sydney and Parrish and Chloe Moore McNeil and even the transfer Caroline Strickland, who transferred in from Tennessee but is a senior this year. You can tell that those three right now, they're wanting to make the most of every game because they know their careers are winding down and they're trying to make the most, and especially get the most out of every moment at Assembly Hall where the fans are fantastic. I wanted to see how their average was, so I Googled this year, the other day, attendance averages for this year, and folks, IU is 4th in the nation with an average of a little over 10,000 fans a game. They're 2nd in the Big Ten. Iowa leads the Big Ten at like around, I think, 12, 14, 12 to 14,000, and they're number 2 in the nation. It's just fantastic, and so it's great to see them play well. Now, IU, this would be a year they're not going to get to They're not going to get a host. I mean, I
No.
just don't think they can play their way into a top 4 seed. There's a lot of good teams out there.
If they won the Big Ten tournament, they would probably be
Possibly,
a
yeah. But
yeah.
that'll be a tall order.
Because that
I
would
just
have to
want,
go through the two best teams in the country, probably.
yeah. Although they played with both of them. I
Right.
mean, they
Yeah.
led both of
But
those
they would
teams.
have to go through both of them.
Yes. Although I will say no, I don't think so because UCLA and USC are not the two best teams in the country, folks.
Well, but
Notre Dame
that
has the
might have been an
best.
exaggeration, but I'm saying those are
Oh
two of
yeah,
the
I'll have to
teams
go
that
through
can
two
win the
of the
national
best. Yes,
championship.
but Notre Dame. Oh, if you guys want to watch great guard, I don't care. Watkins can get the hype. The best guards in America where they play for the Irish. Hannah Hidalgo is a sophomore like Juju Watkins. All Juju Watkins has on Hannah Hidalgo is size. But Hannah Hidalgo is a much better defensive player, a much better two-way player. And Olivia Miles is, Candace Parker said Olivia Miles, in her opinion, is the best all-around two-way, all-around player in the college basketball. And I think Candace kind of knows what she's talking about a little bit. UCLA again, but the Big Ten is so good. I mean,
It
I
is.
said I watched I streamed. I was on Peacock, so I did stream a little bit of the USC and Michigan State game. And that's who IU has to go to Michigan State on Sunday, and that's going to be a tough road because their new Coach Frank has done a wonderful job since going to Michigan State, and they're a good pressing team. But the Big Ten is loaded, and so is the SEC.
Two
Folks,
o'clock on 2 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. By the way, the IU
yes,
game at Michigan State.
yes. And then IU they're down to they have 3 games left. Sunday, Big Ten Network at um, Michigan State. Next Thursday is senior night, their last game in Assembly Hall this season
Against
against
Maryland.
Maryland. But that's on Peacock again. I just
Yep.
don't get it.
Well,
Uh,
a lot of people get the Peacock app, Michelle.
yeah, but you know what? Not a lot of older people, and that's my mom hates it because she can't watch them. And I've heard that from other people. There a lot of older people don't handle the streaming thing well, and they
I
don't. So
know, but
and for women's basketball,
you can't hold back the future of coverage for the
but
people
I
who
think you
can't do
can
it.
because I think what you're starting to do is you're going to price yourself out. You have too many because they keep wanting to farm them out to different streaming services, and
It's
it's
going to
just
get
like
better and better, Michelle.
no, it's going to get more
It's
expensive.
going to get better and better and more
No, it's not.
consolidated because that's the natural order of things.
Well, hopefully they do something. I just don't, but I don't like the streaming. And I will say this: I watch
It's
Peacock.
inevitable. All right, Michelle, everything comes together for the Hoosiers. They go at least 2-1 here to finish the regular season, which I think they will. I think 3-0 is a possibility as well, but at least 2-1. Have a decent run in the Big Ten. Can this team get to the Final Four, or what's the highest expectation we should have?
Well, I will say this: because a lot of it will depend on where they go, who's in their bracket, who are the 4 seeds in their wherever region they go. Because they can. I really believe they can play with anybody in the country. There will be some teams that can give them a little styles that can give them a little bit more problems than others. If Indiana goes in, and they could go in overlooked this year by a lot because they're not ranked.
Right.
So they could go in overlooked, and I will say this: I think they're good enough. If you overlook Indiana, especially when they're hitting shots,
I
because
don't
they
think it's
don't.
a team that's going to compete with the elite of the country, probably. But there's no reason that they can't compete with anybody on the next level.
Oh yeah, and I mean they have competed with. In fact, I will say this: poor shooting, questionable officiating, and it wasn't just me. There were a lot of, if you looked at social media, a lot of people that watched that UCLA game that aren't fans, but outside just questioned the officiating, just thought it was terrible. You couldn't overcome both, and tournament officiating is not so much a thing. Shooting, I mean, I use a team because they don't have a dominant player like Mackenzie Holmes inside that, you know, they have to be able to knock down shots because it's a team that really being able to knock down shots shots, opens their inside game. And Carolyn Strickland, what a great transfer portal pickup for IU. And she keeps getting better and better. It's um, a little bit different than her role at Tennessee was, both offensively and defensively. And this is why people don't. I don't think Terry IU gets a lot of top players coming right out of high school because you have to earn your playing time through the defensive end of the floor. And her system, and I mean, like they mixed zone today and man to man, which is great because when I watched Michigan State play, I thought they're going to have to play some zone um, against it because of the offense they run. But and it's so much based on communication, and that's why some of those young players, not everybody can come in and just play right away. And I think they know, some of those freshmen know they're not going to get a necessarily play right away. And we are, I think you'll agree with me, Greg, kind of now I think we're in a society where these kids look at how much money can I make and how much time and how much playing time can I get. And
Yep.
it's not how many championships can we be a part
Right.
of, which is,
Finding the right combination of players is very important.
and that is what, Terry's done. And I think that's one of the
Yep.
reasons she's kind of, um, some of her player foreign Yard and Garzone, and she's 20 and 2026. She's got a 6'4" Australian player that I think plays a lot like Yardy. But is already a better post player. They've turned Yardy. She's getting better in the post each year at IU because I do think Terry with Rhett Wiersbe, her associate head coach, he's a tremendous post coach, and so Yardy has learned to be able to post up down in there, and so with that coming in, but I think that's why sometimes she goes to those players because they have national team experience. So those players might sometimes come in and play more to start just because of they just have all more experience.
It's
So,
I think the best thing that ever happened to the Purdue men's basketball program was when Matt Painter decided he's no longer going to try to recruit the best players. He's going to try to recruit the best players that fit his program.
oh, I think I think absolutely. I think you have to do that, and sometimes you are lucky enough that they're um they're both. They're a combination of
Yes.
both. And I think that's, Notre Dame has done
And
that.
you can find them if you know what to look for.
And I think UConn has done that. And I do think, you know, I was looking through the McDonald's All-American list for the men's and the women's, and I noticed on the women's there were some undecided, but I don't think any McDonald's All-American on the women's roster has UConn as their destination next year.
Wow.
I think that tells you just how much women's basketball is growing.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much to Michelle Garmon for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report. Love it every time she does it. She's the best. We are going to be doing more and more segments like this about IU, Purdue, Colts, Pacers, IndyCar in particular. Also going to do a little bit more on Ball State, Taylor, Anderson, of course, IUK, Indiana Wesleyan. Didn't want to leave any out. Things like that throughout the year. We figured out that's going to be the best route to give our listeners the best coverage possible. We want to make it like a newspaper where you can look every day and pick out which sections or which articles you want to read, which podcasts you want to listen to. Of course, no one's going to want to listen to all of them, but pick and choose the ones you're interested in. And we will have more announcements on that coming up very soon. Of course, we will continue with our high school sports coverage. That will always be the center of focus for me personally. But much more on IU sports and IU women's basketball coming up in the future of the Central Indiana Sports Report. Please like, subscribe, or follow. You know what to do. Just search Central Indiana Sports Report. YouTube would be a very good place to go. We'll start having videos and things like that. And all of our segments can be found there, as well as Spotify, Apple, Amazon, SoundCloud, you know. And also, please, if you enjoy this segment or if you enjoy the podcast in general, please tell your friends about it. Thank you. It is way too late to be podcasting on a school night, but the Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie. Time for bed.